Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
This podcast is brought to you by TeamTrade, a digital solution that helps you hire, optimize, and retain employees. Using psychometric assessments to identify more than 100 professional mindset traits, it gives instant reports you can use to build high-performing teams. Get 2 free profiles today, no commitment, no credit card required, at teamtrait.com. TeamTrait.com. Welcome to the Manage Smarter podcast with hosts C. Lee Smith and Audrey Strong. We're glad you're here for discussions on new ways to manage smarter, hire, develop, and retain talent, improve results, and propel team performance to new heights. This is the Manage Smarter podcast.
Hustle culture. We've never done this topic before, Lee. And in sales and hustle, it's like peanut butter and jelly. They go together. Not always, says our guest.
Well, yeah, that's so before we get too far down the road here and people start to roll their eyes and think, oh, this is somebody else that's going to come on and they're going to talk about, oh, you don't need to hustle as much, or you're going to burn yourself out, or, you don't need to get yourself involved in a daily grind and everything like that. Look, it's like, I hear you. Every manager, every leader wants to have people underneath them that are hard workers. All right, so I don't think this is what our guest is saying, but we'll find out. I think there's a smart way, quite frankly, to work where you can be a hard worker without going overboard. In some cases, more is less. But it's like, we're going to find out what our guest has to say, and I can't wait for it.
Me too. There's a lot of meat on the bone on this one, everyone. Welcome to Manage Smarter. I'm Audrey Strong. I'm the Senior Vice President of Communications here at Sales Fuel.
And I'm C. Lee Smith. I am the founder and CEO of Sales Fuel.
So it's Matt Granados is our guest today. He enjoys discussing topics, trends, and developments related to creating a positive workplace culture and transforming teams and individuals for greater success. He's the CEO of a company called LifePulse Incorporated, and he helps organizations fix their people by also fixing processes. He's the creator of a system called Perpetual Development as well. Kind of interesting, a scalable system that embeds structure and sustainable motivation into teams at every level, from interns to executives. So Matt, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming. And I'd love to hear your definition of hustle and hustle culture.
Yeah, well, appreciate you guys having me, and I think we'll ruffle some feathers in the short time we have here. So hope you're okay with that. But
we live for that, Matt. We live for it.
Exactly, right? I'm naturally a hustler. Like, I actually enjoy doing more than being, right? I'm a better human doer than I am a human being at times. And I think when we dive into that reality, it opened my eyes to some crazy lies that have been told to us through this whole hustle culture. So please understand, like you said, this is not some kumbaya. We must just hug each other and not ever do the hard work. No, we do really hard work, and we do a lot of it. We just do it in a smarter, better way.
Oh, okay.
So the biggest thing to describe of it is there's a difference between high performers and optimal performers, right? So a high performer is where everyone used to try to get to, especially in sales. I need high performers on my team. Let me explain what a high performer is. High output, unsustainable pace compared to others. That's like saying I beat a bunch of slow people in a race, so therefore I'm fast. It's a bad way to focus on humans.
Being a smart kid on the short bus.
Exactly, right? So optimal performance flips the script a little bit. Same exact high output, but at a sustainable pace compared to one's own ability. That's the key. People are lazy. Talking about I want a hustler. When we're hiring, we're lazy. When we're training, we're lazy. When we're developing, we're lazy. But yet we're telling everyone else to hustle, 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 hustle. We have a rule with every client we work with that you need to make sure you got 180, 100. Your people you're hiring are able to do 100% of their expectations, their responsibilities, at 80% of their capacity to benefit and earn 100% of what you've offered them. If you're hiring people with the expectation to be at 100% all the time, you're going to experience burnout. You'll never sustain what you're doing. So the people who are hustling are the same people who have the abundance mentality. Oh man, there's enough for everybody. You have to have the abundance mindset. But yet I find when I met the people with the abundant mindset, they were always in a rush. The one thing they were not abundant with was time. They were never at a reasonable pace. They were always rushed. And when I say they, it's because that's who I used to be. We got our life kind of flipped upside down with our daughter, Natalie, who was the best blessing we could have had. But she was born with a very rare genetic disorder, 17th ever with the condition, youngest by far. But basically, her muscles don't work the way ours do. So, during flu season, we spend a lot of time in the ICU. So I had to take this entire consultancy that was all about high performance, reimagine it to optimal performance, and do some keynotes from a hotel or from a hospital room, and do some workshops from a hospital office on the side. And I went, wait a minute, there's a better way to do these things. And that's where we developed the concept of perpetual development. And how do we get it where it's a sustainable, repeatable, self-implementing process? And that's where the entire concept of LifePulse started. And that's why the hustle culture, although I'm not against hustling, I am against unnecessary sacrifices that we regret later.
So I love the fact that you're big into development, because you made a point here that I like to express to everybody, which is we all have the same amount of time. It's like nobody gets 26 hours in a day. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And yet, so for the manager that gets a I don't know, a quota, if you will, disguised as a goal. From on high, it says, okay, you need to increase sales. You need to increase productivity by 10%. The issue there is like, okay, the people you have working for you to deliver those numbers still have the same number of hours in a day. So how are they going to get there? They can't spend more time doing what they're doing. They only have so much time. So they have to get better at what they do. They need to improve their skills. They need to improve their efficiency. And this is what I like about you talking so much about development, because that's how you get there.
Yeah. And where this all came from was I went to go work with a large client, big client that everyone knows and has used their whole life. And I don't share their name just because it's not necessary for the story. And it was something we were fixing. But the issue was everyone felt either kind of enslaved or entitled because there were so many amenities given to the people. And as I'm sitting there getting ready to work with them, going through what we call our optimization overhaul, I sat back and went, wait a minute, we're doing this wrong. We've been told that in order to get our people to work at a high level, we need to give them everything they need. And the answer is no, we don't need to enable them. We need to equip them. We don't need to lift our people up. We need to edify our people. These are major differences in words that we need to focus on as leaders, as managers, and as sales reps one-on-one directly with customers. If we're playing by the old rules, the perverted words is what I call them, words that do not mean what they actually are used as, then we're running into a trap of it. But it all came from realizing it is not our job as leaders, as employers, to bridge the gap to every individual in our company or even every single client of ours. It is our job, specifically in sales and leadership, which are very similar, to actually better equip the individuals to bridge the gap back to us. How can I make it so that when I'm going to sell my services to someone, that I'm not trying to bridge the gap to them, I'm teaching them how to bridge the gap back to me. When I'm managing someone, how do I equip them to bridge the gap back to me? And there's a process we put clients through 4 separate cycles to hit that optimization overhaul. And then usually about a year after putting it into place, their entire culture changes. There is no more hustle culture. It is hard work culture. It is build each other up culture. And it is massively better results at a sustainable pace.
I'm obsessed with the 80% number that you tossed out there. So how is that measured? What is the definition of the 80%? Is it that you are lowering KPIs by 20%, or how is that calculated?
No. So, Yep. Sorry. So it's basically the person you're hiring, if they need to be at 100% of their ability to get the goal done, then you've hired the wrong person. They're underqualified for what we need. And what happens is now we get someone that can do it kind of at 80%, because if you're into sales or you're into business, you should also be into growth in some way, shape, or form. So because of that, if you're at 100%, you don't have anything else to give. So we hit a growth stage. You're already maxed out here. How are you going to move with us here? You're going to burn out. But if you're at 80, you're going to have spurts at 100, right? Kind of like sprints. We have an online community coaching, and this month's topic is patient pace, and how you allow pace and patience to come together to create this rhythm, and how important the pace is. There was a study done by about the majority of the long distance world records ever ran, and there's a similar pattern to it where it's a strong start, very sustainable middle, and then a surge at the end with whatever they have left. But it's not this skyrocket up and then try to stay up top. It's very clear. You go up and then you settle, and then you end strong. If we were to live our life like that, you would experience that concept of fulfillment that everybody's looking for. The work-life balance issue is not about people are working too hard, it's that they're not fulfilled in the work they're doing. That's not the company's fault. That's not the leader's fault. That's the individual's fault. Where we fall short and clients that we work with is we haven't given the tools for the people to be able to do that.
Yeah, you mentioned the 4 separate cycles. I was wondering if you could give us a 30,000-foot view about what those 4 cycles are in general.
Yeah, the first is just, and it's kind of the 4 cycles of just implementation and implementing anything. So first you're just learning, right? I got it. I'm kind of trusting that this guy knows what he's talking about. I'm using the system. He said it's going to give us 15 hours of productivity. We'll test it. The second is refining it. Okay, so I've tried it once. Now I'm refining the process. The third is sustaining, and the fourth is enhancing, right? So you got to be okay going through those. Now, some clients, we had a client who has been with us for 4 years. They're still going through the process, right? They have a lot of people in their team, and it's different companies or different verticals we're working with. Other organizations, within 90 days, they go through all 4 of those cycles. So it's not a time thing, it's an action and adaptability thing. So those are the 4 cycles real quick, but we have to be okay realizing you got to learn something. You have to then learn how to refine it, sustain it, and then you can experience the enhancement of it.
What I liked about what you said here, though, is that we all crave consistency as leaders. We want everybody to be consistent. That's not realistic because what happens is personal life gets in the way.
Yeah.
It's like something happens at home, something happens with a friend of yours, or it might be a health issue, it might be something issue with your kid, might be issue with you got into a car accident or whatever. It's like, sometimes real life gets in the way. So what has to happen is to be able to get that 100%, you need to have 120, to go with your 80% days or whatever, and hope that they all balance out or whatever to get you where you need to be.
And the concept that we teach on that is it's not about work-life balance. We ask every client to throw that out. It's work-life integration, work-life harmony. We actually work with clients to say, let's redefine what we mean by that. It's not work-life balance. You can't balance these 2 things because by balancing, you're comparing 2 things, and we never want to see that happen. So with that concept, our system works personal and professional. It blends it into one because you're just one person. You can't compartmentalize like we thought we used to be able to. Mm-hmm. Our whole company started was because a large financial institution out of Boston reached out to us, Fortune 50, and said, hey, your system solves our biggest personnel problem. Can you come talk? We didn't even have a company yet. We just used it for our organization. So I went in for 3 days and had the time of my life teaching this huge company how to do everything. And at the end, they said, hey, why didn't you invoice us? I said, what do you mean? They said, we thought you were a consultant. I said, no. They said, okay, so let's have a conversation. And what the reality of it is that people don't know how to manage their personal life. In fact, business is the most sustainable part in any of our lives. So it's the most structured thing that most of us deal with. It's our personal stuff we have to address at the same time. So everything we teach is based on truth, application, changes. So there's 3 filters we put everything through. First is business. Does this work, right? If I'm coming in working with Salesforce, does it work with your company? Yes. Okay. Personally, between you 2, does it work for you 2? Yes. And then the third one was, will it work with my family? All the way down to my dog. And if it works on my dog, it's going to work on your people. That includes motivation, intention, structure, and combining them all to hit what we call perpetual development.
And that's how you incorporate the hustle in the new model going forward.
Yeah, and then you're sitting there and it doesn't feel like hustle, but somehow you're outperforming everybody else, right? So I can't go as fast as you in this moment, but I will outlast you. Here's a great example. My daughter's in an electric wheelchair. That sucker can go for probably 13, 14 hours, full speed, straight. If we go on a family walk, she starts in the back, and guess who finishes first?
Yeah.
That makes sense? Yeah. Tortoise in the hare. How else do you want me to describe this? We've heard this forever. So it's not about short-term intensity. It's long-term consistency. Atomic Habits is a book that preaches that I think is a great concept to remember. So in sales, we're so short-sightedness, abundance mentality, but you got to do it now. It's like, wait a minute. Do we have abundance or do we have limits? If we have abundance, we have to bring time into it as well. So we can't, like you said, Lee, I call the day the great equalizer, right? It's the only thing that's fair in this world. You already explained that one. So what I need to do is find a way not to make you more time, but how do I show you how to do more with the time that you have? We call it the 80-20 principle of planning. 80% of your life you can plan, 20% you can't. However, if you don't take care of the 80, the 20 feels like 100. So when my daughter gets randomly put into the ICU on a day that I wasn't ready for it, depending on how severe her medical condition is, that's not the biggest stressor. And we've had everything from her dying and coming back to life to just a common cold. The bigger stressor is when we as a family and a company don't have our 80% taken care of, so we can't actually focus on the 20.
So the clients that you consult with, that you work with, you had mentioned that business is the most structured part of our day, and home much less so. How do your clients then navigate the hybrid work environment or the work from home work structure then in making your system work?
It's actually more advantageous in that model. And the reason why I say it is because we're telling you, you don't need to compartmentalize them. You're now seeing what we're teaching you live. So if you need to take a 30-minute break in the middle of the day, depending on the client we work with, right? Everyone has their own policies. That's okay. But yeah, you're going to make that 30 minutes up later at some point if you're timed on your work. Or if it's result-based, that's fine. If you get your stuff done, that's great. The average person, we have this whole ebook that I could send out to people we call the LP methodology, that walks through the entire process that we do, the principles, all the concepts that we have in place. And the biggest thing to realize is the average person, talking about this hustle culture, is only working about 40% of their capacity, meaning they have more to give. I tell people we want to come in and get them to 60 to 80. Now, we do that without increasing any of your resources. So maximizing results without increasing resources. A lot of people want to grow by top line. I don't want to grow by top line. I want to grow by bottom line. I want to grow by profit. And how do I do that with people? I don't get more people to work at 40%. I get the people I have to work at 50 and 60 and 70 and 80. And I get them to focus not just on their professional life, but also their personal life. So individuals take ownership. And when individuals take ownership, they experience fulfillment. And then we have no more work-life balance issue because people tend to experience fulfillment and love their life when that happens, regardless of the hours they're working.
I think the three of us are default wired to hustle hard,
Yeah.
So if your default wiring is like, I watched your interview on patience before for show prep. And, like when I'm doing tasks that don't feel like driving stuff through the pipeline, but are like thinking time and work time and stuff like that. Sometimes I get like, oh, I should be doing more, or this isn't enough for the time that I'm spending on it. And how do you rewire people like me?
Yes. So,
I have a hard time with that.
Yeah, some of us are harder than others, right? So we'll be clear with that. But the most stubborn out of all three of us, I could argue, is me. So how did I do it? Was simply
I laugh at that.
I always focus on. We've been taught to focus on result-based goals.
Yes.
Mistake number one. We need to have a result-based goal. That's how we track, was this action worth what we did? That's the result-based goal. But then what we do is we break every result-based goal down into two different types of goals: action-based goals and time-based goals. Action-based goals are based on the actions you're going to take, right? I want to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. That's just an action-based goal. So what we do with people like me or like you, every book I wrote, I hate sitting down to write. I'm not a very good writer, but I need to get the content out of my head onto paper, and praise God for good editors, right? So all of a sudden, I sat down and went, okay, I need to focus on just 90-minute time chunks, just 90 minutes of writing. So 90 minutes of this mundane task. My goal is not to accomplish the task. My goal is to commit to the 90 minutes and stick with it. So I am still accomplishing what I said I was going to accomplish by setting a time-based goal, not necessarily the result. And I learned that when I was training for an Ironman. I got a coach and he was like, hey, get on a bike and, go for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. I was like, Chris, dude, give me a target. You want me to go 100 miles? I'll go 100 miles. And he says, I know. The issue with training for an Ironman is not being so you can go faster in the Ironman. The issue is getting hurt while you're training. If you get hurt while you're training, you don't get a chance to go run the race. And it was such an eye-opener to me that I got this big task, a big project I got to get done. That doesn't mean I need to spend all of Monday and Tuesday on it. That means I need 2 90-minute time chunks Monday and Tuesday. That's 3 dedicated hours, dedicated hours, uninterrupted. Wait till you see what you can get done when you're not interrupted. But at the same time, you also know that you can come back to the rest of the day. So you're not bogged down in when we work with large tech companies, the developers, same thing. What do? They don't sleep. They throw 1,000 Red Bulls back and they code for 12 hours straight. We stopped that. 90 minutes on, 10 minutes off, 90 minutes on, 10 minutes off. They worked less and were better off because they made less mistakes. So they were more efficient in the time they were, because after 90 minutes, your brain gets what's called a diminishing return. So like the hustle culture, is foolish if you think working hard is just the activity. Like if you're not producing fruit, then you're a fool. You're not a hustler. But like I don't respect someone who sits there and just works hard to show they can work hard. I'm okay if that's what you want to do, but let's make sure you're not trying to produce a result. If your goal is to get a desired result and you think just working hard is going to get you there, people do that all the time and get extremely unhealthy. I could sit there and run for 12 hours straight. I could do that. I know it would not end well for me. So therefore, do I get praise for being a hard worker, a hustler? I would say, yeah, I hustled and I was a hard worker, but I'm an absolute fool. And we need to focus on not just the action, but the action producing results.
I love this. Lee, I'll give you the last question.
Well, I'll comment first. I like to tell people that sometimes it's harder to get to the starting line than it is to get to the finish line.
Yeah, that's good.
So I would be remiss then if we didn't talk about your daughter real quick. So you and your wife have founded a foundation.
Yes.
I'd like you to talk a little bit about that and use this time basically to educate people on what you're doing there.
Yeah, absolutely. So the foundation's called Take Part, and it's all about taking part in the fight for possible. So fortunately, I married up. Be talking about sales. You know you're a good salesperson based on who you married. I married up without a doubt. She's smarter. She's better looking. She's more caring, all that stuff. So we realized that Natalie had a very rare condition. We talked to the doctors, and the advice I was given, or the suggestion was, when I asked, what do we do about this, was, she just needs to kind of outlive science. So Natalie has a rare mutation on Pyrox D1. It's one of the 23,000 genes that we have. It's just a single mutation on that gene that has drastic results in her physical muscle development. So I said, that's not a reasonable answer. So I went back and looked it up. We found some doctors over in Sydney, Australia, talked with them. I asked what their biggest issue was. It was obviously money, but they didn't want to burden us. And I looked at her and I said, Doc, let me tell you something. I'd rather try and fail than not try and fail. But the options are negative either way. So let's get after this. If it's a money issue, I can do money. I'm comfortable with money. I don't know a thing about genetics, but I know a lot about money. I know a lot about making it. So how do we bring this into us? Had a conversation with my wife, Maria. She's like, all right, what if we called it Take Part? Because everyone kept asking us, how can we help with Nat? How can we help with Nat? In the rare genetic and the rare conditions, especially pediatrics, everyone has their little silos. So what we decided was, what if we brought everyone together and just had, a commonality of rare? And I was talking with a mentor, and I found out that 95% of people with rare conditions have no FDA-approved treatment. Over about 1 in every 10 people in the United States, so 30 million out of the 300 million, have a rare condition. About half of them are kids. And then the final one was the average kid with a rare condition I think 35% of them don't make it past the age of 5. And Natalie was 4 at the time. We started the foundation where we fund rare pediatric research for doctors who wouldn't get normal big pharmaceutical funding because there's not enough people to make profit. What we also do is we offer research resources and help people tell their stories. So any parent who has a kid with a rare condition can create what we call a warrior page, and it's a full profile of who the kid is. So they don't have to worry about HIPAA. They can send it out wherever they want to get the research we want. And then we're also starting a new potential option to help fund individuals' medical care with the way genetics is working and how we need certain things for a specific cure. We got a lot going on there, but it's Take Part Foundation. We love doing it. Obviously it's much bigger than our daughter. She's a part of it, but we tell people rare is more common than you think.
Right.
We all know someone, but we don't know a lot. But when you bring them all together, it's like, holy smokes, 1 out of every 10. That's a lot. And we can address it, as a collective, as we lift up individuals, which is exactly what we do when we work with companies, is we don't try to fix the collective by fixing the organization. We edify the individual, build them up, and all of a sudden, you're not going to believe it, all ships rise with a high tide. We just come in and help lift the tide.
I love you have such a different way of thinking. It's always collective, in putting work and personal together. Most people, like you said, are taking it apart. But
yeah, he's like a bigger moon, right?
Yeah.
It's like you were talking about raising the tide. There you go.
Yeah. But I want to let everybody know it's LifePulseInc.com is your business website. And how would you like people to reach out to you?
Yeah, you can go to LifePulseInc.com. Okay. What we'll do is we'll put together a special page. It's just LifePulseInc.com/MS for manage smarter.
Okay.
we'll put that together. So we'll give some of the tools they could possibly use in this. And then if you have any questions, at LifePulse Inc. is our handle on all social media. We're big on that, and LinkedIn we love. So any way we can help. We're a lot different than the average philosophy out there, but it's all based on truth. And we'd love people to put us to the test, try to prove it wrong, because so far, not a single organization or individual has been able to.
I love it. So anybody whose feathers are ruffled, get a hold of Matt. So
yeah, let's talk.
Thanks for being on the show. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and recommend on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more great information at salesfuel.com.
Every minute your finance team spends wrestling with data is a minute lost. Insight Software's AI-powered insights instantly move you from complexity to clarity. Automated analysis, real-time reporting, strategic recommendations, all at your fingertips. Transform how your finance team works and watch your business grow. Stop wasting time. Start making smarter decisions. Learn more at insightsoftware.com/AI.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.